The format that we take for this final CA is fairly straightforward. Okay, you're going to create a web service using PHP, and that's the portion that I'll be assessing. Okay, and then you're going to consume that web service in a application that you're going to develop in C# with Tony. Okay, so Tony obviously marks his side of it. Okay, now it's reasonably straightforward. Okay, the general idea, you're going to have, I think, what with Tony, you're currently doing forms and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
we started on the
Start.
MC, the model view controller.
Okay, grand. And you, has he started consuming a web service, which is
Well, we done API REST shop.
API REST? Grand, lovely. So that API REST will be exactly the same process that will be used. Okay, I'm nearly certain. I think some of the issues that have come up in previous years have been relating to creating drop-down lists and that kind of stuff, which is fairly straightforward. So I'm sure he'll cover that. But you've got him twice this week from here on, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the practicalities, I was talking to Tony the other day, and he gave me an indication that perhaps not everybody is going to be able to turn up on the day, right? So what we've decided on is that I'll actually take the lab here in Dundalk because I'm here, and he'll take the online portion. So we need for you all to decide one way or the other. Are you coming in or not? Okay. So that's the first thing, and probably we'll figure out a way of letting us know, because what I want to make sure of is that I have enough space booked for us all. But I think we have. We'll be fine. The actual PHP portion of it, you'll be given a database with an ERD, and it will make a certain amount of sense to you. There's going to be 3 services that are required to be consumed by the C# application. So from the PHP perspective, it's very similar to what we've done already. Okay, you will have a server, which will be on your local host. It will have the ability then of providing essentially 4 services. One is to actually obviously create the API key, which we're familiar with. It'll be using JWT as a means of communication. The other one then will be to create a service that doesn't pass a parameter. Then we'll have a service that passes 1 parameter, and a service then that passes 2 parameters. In the case of the last 3 services, it will return a JSON array, which will contain an array of data that will be consumed then by the C# application. Okay. You could consider something like if you think along the lines of when you're filling out a registration form, you might have a situation where you might select a country, and so you want to go and select the country as such. So you need a list of countries to come back so that you can create your drop down list. When the user selects the country, then you'd have another communication which would pass the country ID, and the web service then might return all the different regions that are that selected country. So you'd be passed 1 parameter and you'd be getting an array back. And then what you might do is you might select when you select the country, you might get a list of all the towns that are and villages in the area. So that would be a case where you're selecting a country and a county, and you're getting an array back of all the towns. So it could be something like that. You'll be provided with the database, okay, and essentially the work after that then really is to complete, if you like, the task that Tony will be providing. Okay, so let me just check my notes to make sure I didn't leave out anything for you. as we're going through all of that.
This is on the 15th, Peter, is it?
This is on Tuesday the 15th. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're looking at from a practical point of view, right, is two options. Option one is that we'll do it in-house in P1111/12. So it's the big double lab. Doing it there, we will have a mandatory 15-minute break at about 3:20, because I need to clear you all out of that. Under the protocol rules that we have in the Institute, kind of an hour and a half is the maximum amount of time that we should be in the same room. And it's 2, but I just realised it's starting at 2, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. The reason for doing it this way, guys, was our conversation earlier in the semester where we all thought it'd be a nice idea to get in and meet each other, which I think is a good idea. So whatever we need to do to have that happen, we can do. So I could supervise the exam or whatever. That wouldn't be a problem. But I know there could well be some people who they might be vulnerable, or they might have vulnerable people in their household, or they might just have to go on public transport to get over here or whatever, and they don't want to come, they don't want to risk it. That's fine. Option 2 is going to be that we'll run it over Teams, and Tony will supervise that. We are putting in a requirement that you need to have a working camera and a microphone, and the camera must be turned on for the duration of the CA. Okay, so that's part of the protocols we have coming in for different assessments and alternative assessments. They all have cameras. We can put up the gallery view and everybody can see each other, and it should cut down on any issues that might come with that. Although I think Tony's got things well sorted with his analytics for the C#. But that would be the plan would be on the online, that it would be online at the same time. You'll be talking about 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. You just have your camera, microphone turned on or whatever. Now, because this is a joint CA, okay, this is a non-repeatable CA. Okay, so you do it on the day or you don't. Okay, you don't come crying, my dog ate my computer or whatever it might be. Okay, you need to be able to do it. Okay, I'm sure. Sorry. Yep.
What happens if you don't have a camera? Like if you don't have a camera at all?
If you don't have a camera at all, well, you have a phone, haven't you?
Yeah. So
you could run Teams from your phone.
Okay.
And you could connect your phone then through your Wi-Fi, as a means. It's just the idea is that we have the ability to, Tony has the ability to just check around that everybody is actually there, that it is who they say they are, and that kind of stuff. Okay, that's the plan with that. So, like, I think the phone and Teams is fine. We're not saying that we need to share your screen or anything like that. The only thing I would say, guys, is in a situation where you might be running into a problem, okay, it could well be a situation that Tony might, consider giving you a little bit of advice or whatever. So if you could share your screen or that, it may well be helpful. I don't know if he would do things like that. You guys know him as a lecturer more than I would. So something to consider. In terms of the marks for this, for the web services, this accounts for 25% of your marks, so it's significant. And for the web frameworks, it's 15%. Right. You have to upload your completed to Moodle before 5 o'clock on the day, and you have to upload the completed work. That's both the PHP and the C# stuff to both web frameworks and to web services. Okay, so we'll have space there for you to upload on the day, right? So, because what will actually happen is while I won't be marking the C# stuff, I'll need to know that it works. And the same way Tony won't be marking the PHP stuff, but he needs to have it running to get the results in that. Okay.
Peter?
Yes.
What's the remaining percentage? I think there's 25 left after this. Or is that all of it?
No, that'll be all of it. We have what did we have here for Everton?
The 20 and the 30, wasn't it?
No, we had 3. We had the MCQ as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We had 15 for the quiz. We had 30 and 30 So that's 60, 75. Yeah. So it's
fine.
15 for the quiz. It was 30 for the SOAP. It was 30 for the JWT that I haven't corrected yet, and then 25 for this one. It's coming up to Particle Lab. Okay.
Can I confirm for this exam we'll be using two IDEs, NetBeans and Visual Studio?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks.
Indeed.
Sorry, Peter, there's no problem with using Visual Studio Code, is there? Or the once like it.
Well, my understanding is
sorry, Peter.
Yeah, my understanding is it's going to be open book. Okay, so what I would suggest, and maybe to put that into what do you call it, context or frame it around as such, right? Is that we've got class today and we've got class on Friday. Okay, I would have no problem with you using that time here to actually ensure that you know how to implement the server with JWT. So if there's any issues or problems that you've run into, hopefully with a bit of luck, although I think it's kind of getting a little bit less likely, I would have the results back to you before Friday, but I should have the results back to you by the weekend anyhow for the CA3. So you'll kind of know where you probably have a good idea yourself how you're faring in terms of what are your the service side of your JWT worked. Okay, so using that as a sort of a template, if I was sitting in your seats, I'd probably say to myself, right, I want to actually organize myself so that when I go into this exam on our practical on Tuesday, what's going to happen is Peter and Tony are going to give me the database and the constraints of what's required here. Okay, so you could have, for example, right, you're going to have a number of functions. Okay, a number of database accesses you're going to have to perform. One of them is going to be providing no record. One is going to be providing one record, and the other is going to be providing two records. So let's take the scenario I looked at earlier, and I said to ourselves, okay, we're going to have a situation where we have you have to fill in your address information. Okay, let me actually just throw up a whiteboard here. Put in text. So we're going to consider. Oops. Okay, to fill in a registration form. If the service provides one, it's going to be a request key. Two is going to be get we start with countries. You might be get counties or get regions. We get towns. Okay. So if you take it this request key, you're going to the questions that are out there that you'll need to answer as such is going to be right question. Request key, what's the payload? And that is what you want to put in there, right? So the payload could be a username or whatever, and you may well be given some kind of direction on what that's going to be. Get countries, then you don't need any parameter for that, right? So that'll be the one that is 0 parameters. So just go 0 params there, right? Get regions. Just on this, it will return array or JSON. Now, I believe at the time, I'm not sure if it's changed or not, but I think there were some issues with C# in how you actually, I don't think it handled associative arrays, or you had to do something special to given a SQL file of the database. Okay, so it would be fair to assume there will be a table of countries, regions, and towns. that's your database. That's what's going to come through there, right? So what do you need to do? You need a couple of things you need to do. You need to be able to connect to the DB, right? You're given the DB, so you're going to have to use phpMyAdmin, upload that onto your localhost MySQL server, okay? And then you're obviously going to have some kind of a file that makes a connection to it, okay? So we have that database, that PHP file, and we'll use the PDO to connect. First thing you need to do is to connect to your database, right? We're all kind of aware of that, right? So the second thing then you'll need to do is you need to probably have the use the term the big switch, which will allow us to switch on the service, right? So we know we're going to have to do something like that. You've got 4 services you have to implement, okay? So you'll have switch, you'll have case 1, case 2, case 3. Obviously, you'll call them whatever nice names you want to. So the general suggestion I would have, okay, is that as you include this information here to connect to the database, you probably would do some of that work in terms of checking to see if there's an API key, checking to see what the service is and so forth, okay, and extracting that information from the get variable. So get the API key if it exists, and obviously it won't exist for the first one. And then you'll get the service. So that's stuff you can have now, and you probably have it actually in your server already that you submitted for CA3. So I would be there looking at myself, and I'd say, right, I'm going to have a blank file starting off here, okay? And in that blank file, I'm going to have connecting to my database. I'll have my database file. So all I'll need to do there is to go in to the database file and change the name of the database, okay? And please do that in your PHP file rather than going and actually changing the name of the database that you're using in phpMyAdmin. Okay, it just makes it a bit easier for me to correct. So you've got the database, you imported it to localhost, phpMyAdmin. You get your database.php file and you just change the name of the database in it to match the name that you've been given for the CA. So that means you can connect to your database. So you've all that code done and it's all working, right? The next piece then you need is this piece here where you would be essentially getting the extracting the API key if it exists, and if there is no API key, then you need to make sure that the service that is being requested is indeed the get API request service, okay? Then you need a big switch on the service, and you're going to have 4 cases here, okay? Now you will get the API key here and get the service required, right? Now, there's nothing going to be in this like the last CA that we've done, where it was a case that you needed to have different types of service and so forth. This is just one service. Once you have an API key, it works, okay? So I would probably at this point here then, I would go and I would do some decoding of the key. Just to make sure that it's correct. That's obviously if it exists, okay? So, and that's just to make sure that the API key has come in and it is the right format and it is for my service and for me and so forth, okay? Okay. The objective is this is just to reinforce the idea that, okay, web services can be developed in any language and can be consumed in any language. And kind of should reinforce the reason we're using the JSON array to transfer the data is that we need to make sure that the consuming language just gets raw data and will get results in its own native language then. So obviously C# handles arrays in a totally different way than PHP does or that JavaScript does. So you should be able to do this just in C. It's no different. Like C# is the application. As far as the web service aspect is concerned, it's the client. Okay. It's just a client and it's requesting a service. So any of the stuff that we've done previous to this will work. The difference, of course, is that okay, you're doing the service in NetBeans, you're doing the other thing in Visual Studio, but remember what's actually being executed. The PHP stuff is being executed on the local host server, which is your XAMPP, and the C# stuff is being executed on as an executable because you've compiled it. It's executing on the actual desktop itself then. But it's accessing, the URL it's accessing is localhost / blah, 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 whatever. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, God, no problem. So we're going to have a big switch on service, right? So we've got, as part of the request that has been sent by the C#, it will include the API key and it will include the service that it's looking for, in the same way that we've done it with the client on the client server that we done there in the last CA. And there may well be parameters. For case 2, there's no parameters. For case 3, there's 1 parameter. For case 4, there's 2 parameters that are being sent. Okay. Then it's just a case down here of implementing each of these cases, right? So the first case, okay, we'll have a wee break there at the end of it. Oop. Don't know where that went. But in here, right, first case is going to be to get the API key, right? So all you need to here, you need to decide, or maybe you'll be given on the payload. Okay. Then you need to just go and encode the API key. And then you just send that back. You echo that back. I'll just say send back to C# because that's where all the stuff was coming from in this case. Right. So then in case 2, I'll just say this is a list of countries. What we're going to do here now is, again, previously we've broken down the API keys, so we know it's good. We know what the service is. This needs to get a list of countries. So what we'll probably do here is just we'll echo. Well, no, we won't. I'll do it in bits, right? We need to call a function. Get list of countries. Okay. Then we need to do a JSON encode. Then we need to send it back. Okay, everybody happy there? Case 3 then. And case 3, we need to actually do a filter input because we need to have, we're getting, need to get country ID. Okay, so that's a filter input because we're bringing it in by get. Okay. Then we need to call function. I guess regions bracket ID. Okay. Then we need to encode. Then we need to equip or send it back. C#. And then in case 4, it's just a little bit more complex, and we need to get the country ID and region ID. Okay. So that's going to be filter inputs again. And then we need to call a function get towns, and it will have country, ID, and region. ID, for example, okay. And then what we need to do is we need to do a JSON encode result. And then we need to send that back to functions.php. Connect to, so we need to include, oh no, we don't have that included. So we have case 1 function, case 2 function, case 3 function, case 4 function, okay? We'll also need the JWT class file as well. Okay, so the one that we used. Okay, and that literally, guys, is sort of it. So the process as such, we will give you, if you like, this bit on the left. Okay, the bit in the middle is going to be identical to what it is there, right, in your own code, and that'd be the same as what you've done last week for the client server JWT. The server portion of it, and then the functions in here will obviously be specific to the database and what the what the context of the database actually is.